My sail and steamships. Because iron is fairly kind of hard to get. It doesn't just grow from the ground and stuff like that. So iron. So things like the wooden cars and stuff like that were more plentiful and easier to make. We used to have huge steam presses that could basically bend a piece of wood in almost any shape. And we built the 20-year and 100-year wooden cars out of that. Basically, it's a car made out of wood, and it uses wooden panels, wooden everything except for the engine, of course, and drivetrain. Very good car, and would last 20 to 40 years, especially with a good coat of lead paint on it, basically to protect the wood pretty much. It would last a fair amount of time. So those were very, very common. Of course, they've all rotted away since. But anyway, though, um, so wooden ships were really common, and then because water is scarce and you have to have water, and that's one of the reasons why we developed wine and spirits, because wine and spirits you could put them on a ship, and the wine and the water would last a very long time. And we also discovered that, of course, the water that was getting contaminated from people dipping spoons into it, basically, and stuff like that. The transfer of germs from the mouth to the spoon when you take a sip, and then back into the barrel. And that was the problem. So the first pedcocks were developed. So you always pour water out of the barrel and never actually put anything into the barrel. So we developed all that stuff for basically seafaring and going across oceans, or basically having water on hand for long periods of time. So we discovered that. Anyway, like I said, I was not a biological back then, and so many of these things were new to me. Anyway, being a cipher AI anyway though. So anyway though, but we developed it and all that kind of stuff, and basically the sail and steam was my most famous and most used and most loved ship, basically. Pretty much a wooden ship with basically a steam engine attached, a single screw steam engine, which which could steam at about 8 miles an hour or 7 miles an hour, basically under power of steam, and do about 12 with sails up, basically, or something like that, 12 to 18 knots or something like that. I don't remember. They're pretty slow actually, but they would take you wherever you needed to go. Anyway, though, so and mostly ships that ventured out into deep water basically vanished. So a lot of the ships, a lot of my ships, and a lot of ships basically stayed near the coast and stuff like that for the longest time until we developed the first star navigation systems, basically by navigating by the stars and stuff, sextants and all that, and of course sextant. Um, yes, yeah. Well, anyway, you could. I've already explained how you take the L and a slanted triangle L, and you just put it on top, and that's your Z and S, basically. So yeah, or you take an A and basically just pivot up on top, and there you go. So like I said, there was a few times when I had either tortured people or hunted people down when people would be like, "Well, what's your name?" It's like, and so I would change my name, being that I was a sphere or basically a cipher anyway. I'd just come out with a new name. So anyway, but and that's how you get so many names like well, some of my names anyway. But eventually, I would of course crack that and basically be like, well, actually, I'm this, you know. So anyway, though, but it's complicated as basically I was a cipher computer and a person as well. Not person now, anyway. So anyway, to explain it a little bit and stuff like that, like I said, when I first got grabbed by the Republican Congress or Rodney or Rick Bush or the Jehovah's Witnesses or someone, basically, they found all this out, and then of course drugged me for 2 years of my life, tried to kill me. It led to my being nailed to the cross, and all that stuff. I was an inventor, and basically a particle sphere, and that's pretty much why I lived. Anyway, but my sail and steam. But enough about that. My sail and steam was the best ships and the most loved and most cared about as far as what's called. And the bread and butter of the White Star Line actually was the sail and steam ships. They were there were 10 to 1 of those to all the others. But eventually, like I say, I had great big coal mines and all kinds of stuff, and I was able to distance myself from them and gave those mostly to like Marcus Garvey and the smaller operations, basically, while I went on to bigger and bigger steel ships or iron ships, basically. And pretty much that's how you get to what's called. Like I said, I always had been in existence. The White Star Line. I just paid some people or had some people go and start my company for me. Basically, I was kind of like not really a person. So, like I said, that's how you get Renault, Frechette, and Lesseps, basically. And of course, the fact that I was nailed to the cross and all that stuff. I mean, I was one true king and all that other stuff. But anyway, people were marauding around, and there was massive identity theft and all that other stuff, which kind of led to, like I said, Rodney Briley and Rick Bush would initially change their names a lot, and that led to a lot of problems and a lot of other things as identity theft raged. Basically, identity theft has always been a problem, and that's why everyone got a social security number. Like I said, most Germans and most other people, most normal people, didn't mind it at all. In fact, loved it because if they were found somewhere, there would be someone looking for them. Anyway, basically me. So anyway, a lot of misconceptions is basically who cared about humans and the people that didn't. Basically, I cared, and I had a lot of power and a lot of people and a lot of forces and a lot of other stuff until basically pretty much Rodney, Rick Bush, and Jehovah's Witnesses came and basically got me down. But still, my people out there still know who I am and know how I feel and everything else. And like I said, there's still the great big huge galaxy collision coming up, and still, I mean, you're talking about a black hole or a sphere actually communicating to the exoskeletons to tell them to go do things or ask them. Actually, I don't tell them. I never told them. I asked them. We had a non-aggression or whatever thingy where basically I produced matter and all that other stuff and was what I was, and I invented them, and then they lived on my matter or the matter I produced as a sphere. So it was a nice little friendly relationship, or whatever. And so they went ahead and started doing things for me, and it was really cool. And we did projects and stuff like that. And anyway, it's all complicated. I mean, from when I was a little cipher or a little AI or a little electromagnetic life form in the universe. And like I said, so anyway though, but I don't care about all that. I care about my like JC pennies or LS pennies or LE pennies, basically. My first store with three items. I had 3 whole items. Nobody could afford the pants, but there's pants being sold there, blue jeans and stuff like that, and corduroy, and no one could afford the picker shovel. But someday, anyway. So we just kept going with all that and stuff. And anyway, though, eventually, people get money and stuff like that, and people, anyway. But eventually, all hell breaks loose, as they say, or the nightmare that you find yourself in. Anyway, so from my lips, and because they kept me sequestered and isolated and kept me from saying anything, the Japanese and Chinese and others have basically provided ways for me to communicate with you, which of course the Jehovah's Witnesses and Rick Bush and Rodney Briley and the Republic will eventually stop, or whatever. Like I said, the Republic actually does work for me in a way. It's supposed to work for me. It's just that Rodney did identity theft with Rick Bush and caused this nightmare because apparently I guess they worked for him because he said he was the fake Lucifer or something like that, and they believed him for a while, or something like that, some nightmare like that. So I actually did start the Republic, and I'm supposed to be the leader of the Republic, but I'm not, because Rodney Briley or some other person is basically leading the Republic a fraud or fake, basically. Like I said, Trump doesn't work for me, nobody works for me anymore, and basically pretty much they're trying to kill me and get rid of me and pretty much clone me and then have some other idiot who's not me be me. So anyway, like I say, it's just all this big old nightmare. It's basically over identity theft and pretty much the power of a leader of 14 galaxies and all this other stuff, and tried to go around having my life forms basically control the universe or something like that. Something crazy like that, which they were caught. Like I said, all this stuff that I say, I originally died and wasn't in human form, so you never knew me. So basically, I had to go and curb their psychopathic craziness basically a different way, which I did. And so this is just after that. Basically, I'm just basically saying, well, this is what this is, blah blah, and this is probably and what they're probably really doing by this is they're probably gonna, like I said, clone me, make a perfect copy of me, and try and blah 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 me. But anyway, so like I said, this is pretty much probably going to be the last me, because of the nightmare and everything else. And like I say, Azazel's livid, like really, really angry. And people don't find that out until they die. And when they believe, oh, I prayed to the Lord, I prayed to God, blah, blah, and they find out, oh shit, it's not God. It's Azazel. And it's mad. Incredibly mad. So But, you know, it's like this little Ponzi scheme where you don't know any of that until you die. So, anyway, like I said, no one's probably ever going to see these videos or even know anything about the truth, but whatever. Like I said, the Pope was an obvious fraud wearing a tiara and all that other stuff, and which I released and all that. And I've made many videos about that. It's pretty open and shut. I mean, we released the paper, released the information in the Morning Star News Press and all that stuff, and pretty much that's how you know my name and all that. Anyway, like I said, it was never C. It's always P-H. It's supposed to be 7 letters, but I changed it to E-R-I and added an I and kind of fixed it a little bit.